Happy, what is it, Wednesday? I guess it's Wednesday.
It is.
Yes. Midweek. Freezing once again in our studio.
Yeah.
Mark still not turning on the heat.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I'm not fine.
70 out there right now.
Yeah, are we outside? I'm sorry. Are we outside? Our house, as you brag about in the summer, is nice and cool, which is true. That whoever built this house did a good job of making it nice and cool in the summer. Right. It's also freezing in the winter. So I'm glad it's 70 outside. It is not 70 inside.
Yeah, well, fair enough. It's a little chilly, no doubt. But you can tough it out. I have every confidence in you. Look at that green sweater. You brought it today with the green sweater.
Yeah, it's nice wool. Work. That's why I have it on, because it's so cold.
Yeah. Well, it's about time you start. Well,
we got comments last time that people were writing in and saying, oh, it looks like she's warming up. She's drinking ice water and she must be better. I'm like, I have a blanket on my lap and you're lucky. I have gloves on my hands before we start the show. So that's how cold it is in our house. You can almost see my breath. Okay. But Mark is not going to turn on the heat. Let's just be honest. Until maybe the first snow, right?
You'll be fine.
First snow? I mean, can I get it during the first snow?
Okay. All right.
Okay.
We'll be fine.
Okay, we have a little bit of a scheduling situation this week. We want to let you guys know about the stuff at the top. Then we're going to dive right into the show. So today, obviously, we have this show. It's packed, of course. Mark has stacked us with lots of different stories, national and local. Then on Friday, we're going to drop a Halloween special episode that's going to talk a little bit about some of the experiences that Mark and I have actually had as it relates to a kind of a unique haunting story. And then we dive into I was stalked pretty bad in college. And so we are going to share that story for the first time. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, that will be dropped on Friday. Then we're not going to have a normal, regular scheduled show for Sunday because we're going to wait and do a live show on Tuesday night, election night.
Yes.
So we'll be covering the mayor's election and some of the other election notifications on Tuesday night. So we will drop that. It'll be later on Tuesday night, but that's when we'll have another show after Friday. So just a little scheduling situation. Okay, tell us what we got on this one.
Yeah, we got Melanie Stansbury is going to start off getting lit up by Jake Tapper on CNN. You've got to hear that. We have a New Mexico House member who's gone out and decided to open up her own website and trying to dox ICE, which is ridiculous. So we'll get into that.
Sounds really legal.
Well, she may have a problem law-wise. She also managed to trick a local news organization into covering this story in the most inane and ridiculous way I think I've ever seen. And it's crazy. So we'll go through that. Deb Haaland's campaign numbers, we talked about them before. We brought up what's going on with that. Well, Daniel Chacon, who's, I would say, probably the best political reporter in New Mexico, decided to dig in and break down where her money comes from, where Bregman's money comes from. And it either makes you think you're either really impressed with it or you realize that she could well be a house of cards as a candidate. So that's a possibility as well. Voter turnout, a little sluggish in Albuquerque. We'll get to that. Climate change. We talked about the fact last episode, and if you have not watched that episode, I strongly encourage you to go back and listen into what we say about climate change. It was just something I was really inspired to talk about. The fact that I think the whole climate debate is over. I think the whole debate's over. It's gone. And we'll get into the fact that Christy's giving me the rap.
Yeah, because this is called a tease, Mark.
Yeah,
you're actually going to talk about it.
So how was I to know that Bill Gates would actually come out and do something that would support our theory that the climate debate is actually over? And then J.D. Vance, we're going to wrap up with him, was the very interesting interview with the New York Post and one of their podcasts.
Yeah, he was actually, is he going to run? Is he not? Where does he see the future? And he talks about UFOs. So we're going to get into all that.
Good. Yep.
Yeah, it'll be good. But okay, first and foremost, we've got some fresh hot takes here from Jake Tapper and Melanie Stansbury.
Well, okay, so the government shutdown continues, right?
It's
okay.
unbelievable, actually.
And this is very simple. It's a breakdown we've talked about 100 times. Republicans now 13 times have put up what we call a continuing resolution. Keep funding the government at the rates at which Biden funded it. Democrats get on board, and then they work out other funding measures down the road. Okay, it's that simple. And Democrats regularly have voted for these things, and now they say they're not going to do it. So they're the ones, the Democrats in the Senate have shut down the government.
Even though they continue to say this is a Trump shutdown, which right. I love that they keep calling it a Trump shutdown when that's not what's happened.
So. No. So Trump has agreed, hey, look, just keep funding things the way they've been funded, and then we'll work out some other things. Healthcare spending, things like that can all be worked out. But as far as this goes, Democrats have said, no, we're not doing it. So there are a few Democrats who are voting for it, John Fetterman being one, Cortez Masto being another, Angus King of Maine, but they need 5 more votes. You have to get to 60 votes in the Senate to get cloture and to pass. Okay, so you have to be able to do that. And because the Democrats won't do it, that's why you're not getting checks if you're a government employee. That's why it's possible that food stamps and SNAP benefits could run out for people who need them. It's that simple. And that's the way it goes. So Melanie Stansbury goes on with Jake Tapper and tries to sell this ridiculous line. And this just shows you how unprepared someone like Melanie Stansbury is for an actual light pushback from Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper does not hammer her here. He gives her some light pushback, and she absolutely handles it horribly. So let's go through this. You can listen to what he says. And basically all he's going to ask her is, hey, have you gone to the senators in your state and said, open the government, please? Because it is up to them. And they voted no 13 times. But Melanie Stansbury did not want to hear that.
This weekend,
should the Democratic,
and we're not going to stand for it.
Should the Democratic senators from New Mexico, your home state, vote to open the government so that these SNAP funds are not at risk?
Let me be clear. The administration is choosing to starve American children with money that they already have appropriated.
I'm not applauding their tactics.
By the White House.
Well,
this is a choice by the White House.
This is also,
Congresswoman,
this is also a choice by Senate Democrats to not vote to open the government. Yes, it is. I understand why they're doing it. They're doing it because they want Medicaid funds restored. They're doing it because they want Obamacare premiums to be extended past the end of the year. I understand the reasoning.
Sir, let me just be clear. The money for contingency plans is sitting there. That is why the states are suing. The White House is withholding funds from
2 to 3 weeks worth of SNAP funds. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it may not be a big deal to you, but let me tell you that for the grandparents, for grandparents that literally are feeding their children,
my point is that it's a short-term solution.
In those accounts,
it's a short-term.
At the end of the day, people need to be able to feed their families, and Saturday is when those funds run out.
If you feel so strongly,
Congresswoman,
why not ask the Senate Democrats from New Mexico to vote to open the government so that the SNAP funds...
Sir, I am here in the House of Representatives. It is shut down. I am fighting to get the government reopened. I am fighting to get funding put back into SNAP that is already existent. And all
right, existence, not a word. But so I think this is ludicrous, okay? Obviously, one thing Tapper did not hit her on and did not say directly to her, ma'am, you voted to shut down the government. This bill went through the House. Had Melanie Stansbury wanted the government to stay open, she could have voted for the continuing resolution. It passed anyway because you have a Republican majority, and a bare majority can get you through the House, but it can't get you through the Senate. So you have to get some Democratic votes. Jake Tapper correctly points out multiple times, senators from your state, Luján and Martin Heinrich, will not vote to reopen the government, and they can. They can solve it. Them and 3 more senators, you get them on board. Heck, you get Hickman Looper in Colorado, and you go grab the couple senators from Arizona, and you got it. You're done. The government's open. SNAP benefits are headed your way. Every government employee gets their paycheck. They don't want it to happen. And so she sits there and says, oh, no, I'm the one who's standing up. It's ridiculous gaslighting. It's something that in this state, the media should stand up and say, why are you not voting to open the government again? But there's another article in the Albuquerque Journal on Wednesday, yet again, running cover. Gabe Vasquez says the same stuff with very little pushback, with anyone standing up and saying, why don't you just open the government, please? And they're not doing it.
Right. And again, we've talked about in the last show that military benefits will also may be able to last through about mid-November is what Mike Johnson said. The speaker said that most recently is, hey, we've got funds until about mid-November, and then we're going to be in real bad shape to be paying our military. So again, she's going to get up there and say, we need the SNAP benefits to be able to be put in place in my state of New Mexico, which we have one of the highest population
when people
dependent on SNAP. Yeah. So, hey, guess what? This is actually in your corner, Melanie. Like, you can actually pick up the phone and call your buddy Ben and Martin and say, hey, let's get this back reopened. Her saying that White House is withholding funds, I don't even know what she's talking about. I'm like, they gave you a CRT and you're just like not going to reopen. So I guess I'm really lost at her messaging.
Well, no, her messaging is that the White House is saying that the certain funds she's talking about, they can't actually allocate for in this particular situation. There is some legal debate on that. It doesn't matter. The shortest way to get to the point they want to get to is for them to vote yes on the CR and keep things moving forward.
Yeah.
But they're not going to do it. So she stands there, grandstands, screams at Jake Tapper. They go back and forth, and you realize just that's who represents New Mexico. And so when I say we're not sending our best, that's the sort of thing. It's like, just grow up and vote yes. And then if you want to renegotiate what happens with the Obamacare benefits, you can. But don't kid yourself on these Obamacare benefits, which we're going to get more into in the next couple of weeks. What they're advocating for is people that make as much as $400,000 a year continuing to get subsidies for their health care. And again, in this state, the average worker makes $35,000. We're not talking about that. You're not at risk. If you're making $35,000, $45,000, $55,000, $65,000, $75,000 a year, you are not at risk of having your benefits cut. It's the guy who's making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year that could see their benefits cut. That's the truth. Okay, so you can go through all of this, and these guys can sit there and fight for people that are making $500K a year. Okay, but that's not a reason to shut down the government. That's a reason to have a negotiation. And if you win the negotiation, heck, maybe you get those people their subsidies. I don't really know. That's definitely something we can talk about. But this is not low-income families losing their health care. That's not happening. Right. It's not happening.
Well, we'll see. We'll see I just feel like they're digging their heels in to try to make some statements. Again, it doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm tired of them calling it the Trump shutdown because Trump has nothing to do with this. So it's on them.
Yeah.
And so again, stop passing the buck and do your damn job. That's what I have to say about that.
That's all I have to say about that.
Okay, I didn't say it like that.
You kind of did.
No, I didn't Forrest Gump that.
A little bit.
Really rude, by the way, that you just Forrest Gump me.
That's all I have to say about that.
Okay, I don't even know how to do his accent, let alone that's not what I was doing. So rude. Right. I'm freezing, and he's calling me Forrest Gump. Okay, let's move on. New Mexico, a congressional House member just decides
State House.
Oh, State House member, sorry. Just decides to start this app or website that we're going to track ICE, and we're going to just flood the internet with all this and then let people track them. That's the plan?
Yeah. So Mariana Anaya, who is a House member here in the state of New Mexico, she decided she's going to put up a website, and she's basically going to track ICE, wants people to report ICE activity onto this website. We've talked about this a bunch. And that is, this is an avenue into more violence against law enforcement. It is. And we'll get into the actual numbers. I'll share with you very simple numbers here coming up in a second, what's happened to violence against law enforcement since things like this have happened. But she goes in and announces this. Libs of TikTok comes out on X and says, this is crazy. And the Libs of TikTok account is a very big one. And I think it crashed their website. Okay, but their website now is back up again. Okay, but what was amazing is KOB did a story on this. Okay, and here's the thing. I get it. We now live in a media environment, in the television media environment in New Mexico, where you don't have the level of person executing from top to bottom, funding-wise, for these newsrooms. You just don't have the number of people. The competence level isn't there. You've got some good people who do work here. We're friends with some of them. Dean and Jess do great work on Channel 13. They're very competent and they're good people. But you don't have as many competent producers. You don't have as many competent. So as you start to see these stories break out, what you end up seeing in our local news is they take what is fed to them and they regurgitate it and they just say it back. And you watch them and you go, did you give this even a second of critical thought? Did you say, wait a minute, is this really what's happening here? Is the person that is giving me this story, is it possible that their motivation is not what they say it is? And is it possible that they're actually breaking the law and I'm telling a portion of this story that is so ludicrous and Pollyanna that I end up looking stupid? Right? Is that possible? Well, it is. And I think what we're going to play for you, I'm not going to play the whole story because it's propaganda, but I will play for you this story that Mariana Anaya basically fed to KOB. And so she's going to go through why she's doing this. And KOB sells up the flagpole that the reason she's doing this and got a website to report police activity and to create chaos, that's what she's trying to do. But she says it's because she just wants to figure out if some of the video that we see on the internet is real or fake. So she doesn't want anyone to see fake videos.
Yeah, she's looking out for you.
She's looking out for you. So she's like, the ombudsman for the internet. She's like, I'm the ombudsman for the internet, so I'm going to make sure that these things are real. That's why I'm doing this, because we want to verify that they're real. And look, hook, line, and sinker. Here comes Channel 4 helping out.
And that's probably where you have seen videos of what look like ICE arrests.
But the big question still stands, are they real? A state representative is trying to make it easier to verify and track where these alleged arrests are really happening. Our Alika Medina spoke with that lawmaker today. Alika, she says this has actually been in the works for a few months now.
Yes, State Representative Mariana Anaya says her office has been working for the past couple of months to get Aguas up and running. It's a website that documents ICE activity across our state, and she's hoping it can make a difference and bring some peace of mind.
Peace of
We've
mind.
seen it across social media. What looks like ICE arrests one after another. But are they real? Aguas, a new website to track ICE activity in our state, could potentially verify if they are real and show where it's happening.
We want to be sure that people know, one, this website is not to be used for any kind of harassment or interfering with law enforcement.
Right.
It's simply documenting things that have already happened.
Oh, right.
So hold on. Simply documenting things. I've got to stop right there.
So
simply documenting things that have already happened. Okay? That is not true.
Right.
So I'm just going to stop it right there because it's more proper. It just Channel 4 goes through this whole thing. Oh, give me a couple more seconds and then we'll come back. Okay.
I don't know if you need to give any more time because you can just the things you have lined up to show what's actually on this website.
Yeah, I agreed. But let's
prove
just give
that this woman is lying.
Okay, so just a couple more seconds.
Upload a picture, video, and a brief description of what they saw and where.
You can use it, and the user information is scrubbed of metadata. And additionally, everything that you see on the Aguas website is publicly available.
Everything uploaded onto the website will remain as unverified until...
The only way in which we would change that to something that was
unverified
is working with some of our community partners who can verify, yes, this person came to us, their family called, they're in a legal situation. That was definitely...
Okay. All right. So she admits right there, a ton of this is unverified. You're just throwing stuff out there. Okay. And then she even says, well, unless a family member or someone calls that I know, and then we're going to verify it, which means nothing. It's not. And again, she doesn't say law enforcement verifies it. She doesn't say a government agency verifies it. She says just people that we know are going to verify it.
And I'm sorry, is she suddenly like, she's got this time now that she's going to be basically an investigative reporter and she's there to tell people the truth, like find the real truth and tell us what actually is going on with ICE? She's the investigative reporter that's going to be the one that's out there spending all her time. Why don't you go back and do your job at the house or whatever else you've got cooking? I'm sure you have another job. It's instead of setting up a tattletale website on ICE and what's happening with that.
It's not even it's much more dangerous than tattletale.
Tattletale makes it sound
no. I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, you're talking about the attacks on ICE agents are up anywhere from 400% to 1,000% in a year, and things like this are the exact reason why. So I go on the website. And here we go, right off the top.
Yeah, and let's point out the fact that she said this issue's past events.
Past events.
No, it doesn't. This was today.
Yeah, so what they're doing is they're putting stuff up in real time or close to it. And so they're saying 8 white and black SUVs, vans sitting by a Checkmate building. They look like they are planning a raid.
Today at 6:24.
Today at 6:24 in the morning. That's right off her website. Another one? Here's another one. 6 black SUVs seen around Coors and Rio Bravo. They're behind Walmart shipping center for staging. You sit there and ask, why do ICE members feel the need to wear any sort of face mask or protection? This is why.
Yeah.
You're targeting them.
Yeah.
You are putting out a website where you are targeting them. And so you see this, and it's absolutely ludicrous for someone that is supposed to be a leader. But the problem is what we have now in our legislatures, especially the legislature, we have people where they go in and they elect extremists who go and do stuff like this. And instead of our media saying, instead of Channel 4 saying, wait a minute, is this legal? Because you know what? It may not be legal, which we'll get to in just a second. Number 2, did you go onto the website, look, and when she says, oh, these are past events or whatever, did you take 2 seconds to look on the website and go, you got real-time reporting here. Like you've got somebody who reported here and it posted like that. And by the way, she says, she says, we're not going to verify anything. We're not actually going to verify anything. None of this is verified. Oh, what are you, crazy? All you're doing is, A, you're either scaring the heck out of people, or you're creating an environment for law enforcement that is dangerous, which has proven to be dangerous, where people are getting shot. And you sit there and you get in a bedder in the media who's like, okay, let's find out if these things are real. I'm the ombudsman for the internet and I don't want there to be any video. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, I guess I just, you look at her and you look at what she's putting out there, how dangerous it all is. I can't believe that this is legal for her to do. That's really my question is, how legal can this New Mexico House member be by basically, reporting where ICE members are trying to plan things to get illegal people that are dangerous off of our streets? It reminds me, it's got a little bit of the Nextdoor vibe to it.
Right.
Where if you go on Nextdoor, and Nextdoor kind of is like, I heard loud noises. I think it's fire. I think it's gunfire. And meanwhile, somebody's like, yeah, that was fireworks. It's just this whole thing of like, if you let Nextdoor run wild, which is basically this, you just get, Lord knows what you're going to get on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're, quote, a leader doing this, and you talk about breaking the law, well, I mean, it just so happens that Title 8, Section 1324 of the U.S. Code doesn't look kindly upon this. Any person who conceals, harbors, or shields from detection an alien who is unlawfully present shall be punished. Okay? She is dancing the line of this to be charitable. And what they also have, by the way, is not only the fact that this could well be against the law. That's going to be for the feds to figure out and how they want to deal with it. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But it's definitely close to that line. Also, they happen to have this, which is turn on your notifications. They have a push notification so that when something new comes into their website, you're immediately updated. So this whole thought process of, we're just documenting past events. Why do you have a push update on it? Why?
Yeah.
Why? Because we know why. And this is what's so disappointing. So from our media organizations, we need you just to step up and ask the most simple questions. Instead of taking what you're fed and regurgitating it to people. It's the reason people don't watch local news anymore. Is because they look at it and they go, come on.
Yeah,
and
how dangerous
admittedly, the financial model has changed. I don't blame Channel 4 for the financial model changing. It's hard. It's hard to get people to do that job because you can't pay like you used to. You don't have the numbers. Those things are hard. I get it. And I'm not trying to single them out for this, but this was ridiculous.
Well, so just then go back to real basics, because I'm sorry, even back in my beginning news days, we didn't have a big budget at think about our little tiny station in Grand Junction that we started in. I don't think that was like running with like some big network funding.
No,
you always had, they always asked the news director, especially, she was your first bear that you had to get by. And she would say, well, did you get both sides of this story? So something very basic journalism 101 is you do the story and then you contact ICE. Are you guys aware that this is happening? Do you have a statement to give on behalf of this? Is this legal? There's a question you could ask. What does this do for your offers?
Was never even thought.
I mean, I'm telling, but to not even think of what this would do for officers when we're seeing a massive uptick in violence against ICE officers.
There it is. There's your uptick right there, by the way.
So
up to 1,000%.
You don't need to be I'm sorry, you don't have to have some big budget newsroom to know how to do your dang job. Like, as a reporter, what's the balance? What's both sides? Who should I contact to get the other side of this story? It's not rocket science. I mean, it's just not. I mean, I'm sorry. If you went to college at all for 1 minute to learn about journalism, that's what you're taught.
Yeah, it's not happening. I mean, sadly, it is not happening. And so, by the way, I do want to point out one other little thing, and I want to throw in a quick soundbite from Bill Melugin from Fox. And what he talks about here is, what does ICE actually do? What is the deal? Is ICE going to different areas? Like, say, are they going to a Home Depot and rounding people up? That's not what ICE does. That's, for the most part, that is not what ICE does. That is sometimes what Border Patrol does. That is not what ICE does. There's a difference, right? This is ICE. This is who she's targeting right here. This brilliant, move by a New Mexico House of Representatives member who has literally thousands of other things she could be doing that are more productive for the people she represents. Mm-hmm. But this is what Bill Melugin says about this is what ICE is actually doing.
This is significant because Border Patrol and ICE do very different things, and we've embedded with both agencies multiple times. When we're with ICE, they are typically doing targeted enforcement of criminal illegal aliens, always knowing who they are arresting beforehand and often doing hours of surveillance to try and learn the target's schedule. Now,
okay, that's why when you go have someone put a website up like this, trying to alert these people, that's why it is so incredibly dangerous. Because you have ICE that is going through saying these are criminals, these are people who have committed violent crimes, and we have to know where they are, set up a team, and go after them. I mean, think about that. Imagine if you had the same thing you tried to do to APD, where APD was going after a murderer, and all of a sudden we got websites that are saying, here comes APD, look out, let's set that murderer free. I mean, look at who they're trying to help. You want to know who they're trying to help? This is who they're trying to help. You've seen this guy. We talked about him yesterday, 2 days ago.
Francisco Galvez.
Francisco Galvez. What was he doing? He was running a stash house where he kidnapped people from Mexico, brought them up here. He's here illegally, by the way. Brought them up here, held them hostage until their relatives in Mexico will give enough money so he'll give them back. And if they don't, he threatens to cut off their limbs and disintegrate the limbs in a vat of acid. That's what he's accused of. Is he guilty? We'll find out. But that's what he's accused of. And that's clearly what was happening there. Now,
yeah, you had victims that were saying it. I mean, they found kidnapped victims in this house.
Oh, they're the ones who called.
Yeah, they're the ones that say this is what's happening.
Here's his rap sheet. But, here's the thing, though. We want to make sure we can get him out. We can get some notice out there. That's what websites like this do. They provide cover and warning to violent people who were trying to pull off the streets. How in good conscience can you do this?
I don't understand. I think that either they're falling for this whole, the kid's being divided and, this poor kid is divided at the border. I'm not saying that's never happened. I'm just saying that's not what ICE is up to. That's not what ICE is doing right now. So, educate yourself on what's actually happening. You're a state rep. You don't think you can get a hold of the FBI? You don't think you could have a meeting with ICE to find out exactly what they're doing? You don't think you could get a group of congressional leaders?
Well, I don't think ICE will tell her because now she'll go put it on the internet.
Of course, but I'm just saying, if you guys in House and Senate really want to help out and really want to be helping out our communities, I think you should find out what law enforcement is planning and doing first before you jump off the ship, follow some bogus propaganda that's out there that's talking about ripping apart the family home. Instead, find out what's actually happening, because we've been able to find out what's happening, and we don't have state titles. We're not, but yeah, you can make phone calls and you can find out and you can have real conversations and say, okay, I actually think that this actually does keep my community safe. So therefore I'm going to get behind it, or I'm at least going to stay out of their way. Worst case scenario, you just stay out of their way and let them do their dang job.
But what makes this even more cruel is the fact that when you have someone like Francisco Galvez, or you have someone like we've talked about, the guy from Venezuela who was here, right?
Yep.
And we've talked about that story where he beat his wife, right? He went after his kid, threatened to kill his family. And then they don't contact ICE. We don't contact ICE.
No.
He's immediately turned back out on the street and commits murder. Adán Muñoz is his name, okay? Adán Muñoz isn't walking through my front door. Adán Muñoz is torturing people that he lives with. Francisco Galvez is not walking through our front door. He's walking through the front door of the people he's torturing where they got him. He's going after his own communities here, or people that live in his own community. There are plenty of people, minority families, low-income families. They're the ones being tortured by these guys. And yet they're the ones being protected by leaders. It just, you go look at the people that they target. They're in their own communities, and those people don't deserve that. And to say that you're somehow protecting them by alerting them to what ICE is doing or by having a sanctuary state is ludicrous.
By being the mayor and saying, I'm here as an immigrant-friendly city and I'm here to protect our immigrants. Well, you're doing a terrible job. I mean, it's terrible. It's a terrible policy. It doesn't work. It's backfiring. And then you stand up there and think, Mayor Keller, that this is the right way to protect your citizens and your people that are here that are from different countries. You're not doing that at all on any level. So it seems corrupt to me. I don't know what's going on. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't get Sanctuary City. I never have. I never will. And if you ask me who to vote for, I would say vote for somebody who is going to oppose and repeal Sanctuary City policies. And we know that for sure is Darren White. He's one of them that's been very vocal about it. So I would make sure that is, in my opinion, for this city, that's very important to follow, is if you want things to change and you want criminals, especially that are here illegally, that are committing violent crimes, you want them gone, you need a leader that's going to actually do something about that.
And I think at the end of the day, when you see all of this and how it all plays out, I think it's something that is so misguided, and it is embracing chaos. Up is down and down is up. That's what's happening now. When you have websites that are being put out, let's stop law enforcement. Let's keep these guys on the streets. It's the latest chapter of
it's the latest chapter of defund the police. I'm sorry, that's exactly what this is. More chaos. This is just if you can't figure that out, if you don't see that, I think our viewers get this. They're watching us because they understand. But again, it's like when you get asked for who you voting for mayor, who you going to vote for your state reps, pay attention to that and spread the word on making sure we put the right people, even as our state reps, because they have a lot of power in the state. So check that box. Okay. Speaking of leadership.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So Deb Haaland, obviously we've talked about her campaign reports because they came out. We did it's kind of a main part of one of our shows recently, a couple of weeks ago. Now we got Daniel Chacon. He's doing an article here in the Santa Fe New Mexican. We are big fans of Daniel Chacon. We definitely think he covers politics pretty solidly in the state. And he came out with Haaland courts progressive Democrats nationwide to fund campaign for New Mexico governor. He goes into quite a bit of detail here on her numbers. So we're going to read a little bit of this article. Since Haaland officially announced her campaign in February, the presumed Democratic primary frontrunner has raised an impressive $6.9 million from tens of thousands of donors, not just in New Mexico, but across the country. Small, out-of-state donors are Haaland's bread and butter. The average donation across the board is $30.89. But with the November general election still more than a year away, Haaland has less than half, $2.8 million, left in the bank, sparking accusations of wasteful spending. Haaland's campaign has spent nearly $4.1 million so far, or nearly 60% of her fundraising haul. Call it a case of spending money to make money.
Okay, so a couple things. First of all, I want to go back a little bit. We talked about this to some degree, and we talked about this middle seat. We picked out, we knew right away when we looked at their fundraising thing, this middle seat ventures was taking a ton of her money. Okay, but I do want to alter this a little bit.
And Middle Seats, by the way, is a firm out of D.C.
D.C. Yeah. And what they're doing what we call prospecting, okay? And what happens is you spend all this money to develop a huge donor base, okay? And so I want to clarify this a little bit, because I do think she's wasting money at an unprecedented rate. We'll get to that. He quotes us in this story, but I do think she's wasting money at an unbelievable rate. But her argument would be, and I want to be fair to her argument here, her argument would be, yes, we're spending a ton early, okay? But what they think they're going to do is get this big fat donor base, okay? And then what they do is with small dollar donor bases, you can keep squeezing the orange multiple times. So you keep going back to them because they're giving you $20 at a time and they like you. And for them to give you 20, they'll give you 20 more. And it was something that we definitely did in our campaigns. We had massive small dollar donor structures. We did a really good job at that. Okay. Our people were very good at it. We worked hard at it. That worked out well. Now, what you try to do is you try to balance. You get those small dollar donors, which are the best, okay? Because that just shows you support, okay? So that's good. You also need big dollar donors. It's just a fact of campaigns, okay? So what you see in this particular situation, though, is something very interesting developing between Haaland and Bregman. Haaland has all these small dollar donors, but here's the one thing about that. Most of them are not in the state of New Mexico.
Right. So they're not going to be voting for you.
Well,
they'll just be helping you get the money. But.
Right. They'll be helping you get the money.
Right.
There's not a ton of them. 17% or something in this article.
Yeah.
That's what I think he came up with.
I think it was 16% came from the state.
Okay. Came from the state. That is a blinking red light. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right there. Number one. That's a problem. Also, her max donor list is below a dozen people. Okay. So that tells you something too. Okay. Now, you don't want to be too heavy. I'd rather have her situation, small dollar, right? Versus now, Bregman has like 78 max donors. Okay. Bregman has 78. She has less than a dozen. Now, Bregman's gone to oil and gas. There's some Republicans who are, lost enough to think that he's the guy. It's a mistake, but whatever. So Bregman's super rich guy is giving Bregman money. Person who has a couple $100 is giving Haaland money. Okay. I'd rather be her than him. But the fact that most of her donors are not here is a huge problem. The fact that she can't get more max donors is a problem. You want the mix. You want the mix of both. You don't want to be Bregman. You don't want to be, because once you get that donor who gives you the 11, 12 grand, whatever it is, they're done. Yeah. They're done. They can't give you any more.
Right.
And now a lot of them will give you through a business and stuff like that in the governor's race. There's ways to wring a lot out of a single donor. But still, the point being that once you finish off that donor and they've maxed out, they're finished. But the person who gives you $20, boy, they're back again and again and again. So Haaland's people are trying to set up this big structure that down the road, they can keep ringing the bell and keep getting more money in. But what's so scary, she could absolutely be a house of cards because she doesn't have big dollar donors in the state of New Mexico, and she doesn't have enough New Mexico donors in general yet. And so I still think she'll develop that, and I still think she's very much the favorite to get out of the primary. I do believe that. But there's some stuff in here. So we don't have to go through all of it, but we've definitely commented on, and he did happen to quote us in this thing, but I don't know what you think. So you can go, babe.
So Mark just gave all the commentary. I'm not sure if I should read any more of the article.
Well, I don't know if you want to read the whole article. I don't know.
I mean, basically, her spokesperson said that she's taking a less traditional route when it comes to fundraising, which does typically involve, among other strategies, phone calls, fundraisers, and one-on-one meetings with would-be donors with deep pockets. She's building a massive people-powered fundraising program. Deb spends less time fundraising and more time meeting with everyday New Mexicans to hear the challenges they face and share her vision. So who knows if that's actually true. She's
gotten 200,000 donations from 98,000 different donors.
Right. That's a lot. But again, you keep in mind, only 16% or 21,000 were actually from New Mexico. Yeah. So when I always looked at your small dollar donations, which was a huge part of your campaign, by the way.
Right.
The bulk of your money came from New Mexico.
No question.
And so that's how we could kind of feel the energy behind you, that you would go into a community and you're like, oh yeah, here's people that are showing up because they want to support you.
Yeah.
And whether they gave you $10, $100, $500, or max donations, those small dollar donations that people kept our campaign alive, that showed a lot of support. And I guess I felt really good about the fact that you could feel the local energy when you went into communities. I think it's interesting if you only have 21,000 people locally that have given to your campaign. I feel like she's still kind of the unknown. I mean, if you're walking into a community and you've only had 21,000 people in the state give you money,
well,
that's not very many people.
It's not a bad number it's really not a bad number for where she is at this point in the campaign.
I know there's a year left.
So if that continues to grow,
there's a year left,
if that continues to grow, she could be fine. But at the same time, I just think this thing is interesting. I mean, the Bregman stuff, 78 donors that have maxed out. That's Bregman doing the party boss routine. Like you go around to the big hogs and you get the big cash.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, fine. That doesn't surprise me. That's what Bregman does. That's right. Bregman, right?
Yeah.
But it, for the most part here, it's just super interesting. And he did a really good job of diving in and zeroing in on those numbers.
Right.
Because the fact that she needs to go so far out of the state and what she's hoping though. And I want to say that I want to make sure we represented her thing well, just to be able to say they're betting on spending all this money now. And then it will just pay dividends in the next year.
Right, and it could.
No. I just want to give her credit for that because I don't want to be unfair to her because I said she wasted a ton of money. She has wasted a ton of money. She's wasting money, like at a staggering rate. However, this portion of this middle seat thing could eventually
we'll
work
see
out.
What her
I've
ROI
watched
is.
it happen. When we ran for Senate, Gavin Clarkson did this same thing. Gavin Clarkson had a big fundraising number. He had like $1 million.
I do remember that.
Right?
Yeah,
I remember that. And we looked at it and we're like, oh my gosh, he spent it all.
Yeah.
We're like, look, he spent it all. And we're like, he's prospecting. He never was able to take that money right, that first prospecting round and turn it into subsequent huge dollars. Right? He wasn't able to do it. Now, Haaland may well be able to do that. She may be better at that.
Interesting. Well, he added here, too. He just said her campaign finance report was the topic of our conversation in a recent episode of the No Doubt About It podcast, hosted by 2022 Republican gubernatorial candidate Mark Ronchetti and his wife, Christy. And then he quoted you saying, she is wasting money at a rate which is without peer, Mark Ronchetti said. That level of which she's wasting money is unbelievable. There is no reason to have spent $4 million on this race already. There's no reason. She should be stockpiling this money into the point where she has a huge war chest going into the next year. Despite her spending, Haaland still has more cash on hand than any other gubernatorial candidate, Democrat or Republican. Bregman, her closest competitor, raised nearly $2.5 and spent over $1 million, leaving him with $1.5 in the bank. Unlike Haaland's donors, a majority of Bregman's, some 80% were in-state. So that's kind of the wrap-up on this.
Bregman is doing the in-state thing, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but I will say, I stand by my comments. Okay, I stand by my comments that she's wasting money without peer. However, I that's why I wanted to represent. But she would say that
she's spending money to make money later.
Yeah,
and so we'll see how the ROI turns out on that investment.
And
see how she continues to do. So we'll continue to follow that race. One race that's obviously very important to us, and that here people based in Albuquerque especially, is this election day, which was happening this Tuesday, November 4th, for the new Albuquerque mayor. And it's a little bit sluggish out there, it says here in this article, kind of focusing on this. Only about 9.3% of Albuquerque's more than 362,000 registered voters had cast ballots as of late Monday, according to the Bernalillo County's clerk's office. That figure includes both absentee and early voting. With early voting set to end Saturday in advance of next week's election day, the current trend suggests final turnout marks might fall short of the 32% mark from Albuquerque's last mayoral election.
Yeah, and I think a couple things on this. First of all, Dan Boyd wrote this and did a decent job with the article, but I will say, he said, Republicans should be concerned. They're about 10 points behind Democrats on the voting levels in Albuquerque. Well, the voter registration difference in Albuquerque is like 18 points, right? So Republicans are down 10. That's not horrible. You're outperforming partisanship by 8 points. So I don't think it's necessarily, I think I see plenty of Republicans vote.
Yeah.
I really do. And I do think you're going to see a ton of people vote Friday and Saturday, or probably Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Those will be huge numbers.
Trying to get in the early things. So do you want me to read this one, viewed another way? No? Okay. So we'll see if, just so you know, though, if you're wanting to early vote, you have until this Saturday to get into early voting, 10 to 7 at most voting locations. Then it shuts down until Tuesday, and then you actually have to go to your place that you're allowed to vote at, which is based on where you live. So just food for thought.
And in any campaign, obviously, you're trying to close out strong. So here is Darren White's closing ad. It's airing on Fox right now. Remember, if you're Darren White right now, what you're trying to do, you're just trying to get to the runoff.
Yeah.
Okay? And you're trying to get every Republican that you can to vote for you. That's more than enough to get you to the runoff, right? So if you're Darren, you're trying to, your biggest competition right now is actually Louis Sanchez. Really, that's who you care about. Like, you want to make sure you're drawing enough votes away from him. And so this is the ad he's got going. I don't believe Louis has an ad on Fox right now. I don't think he does, but I don't know for sure. But I don't think he does. And so here's Darren's closing ad. And you may recognize the person he talks about, who we have talked about many times on this podcast.
Darren White for mayor. Mayor Keller has turned Albuquerque into a sanctuary for criminals, like this guy from Venezuela. He strangled his wife, and because of our sanctuary laws, he was right back out on the streets. And a month later, he committed murder. Or this triple shooting at a migrant stash house in the Heights. Mayor Keller protects all these criminals. I won't.
Darren White for mayor.
I'm Darren White, and I approve this message because I will end the sanctuary city policies.
Okay.
Clean message.
Clean message. Don Munoz gets into his ad.
Yeah, a very clean message. If you are questioning who is going to end sanctuary city policies, Darren White makes it pretty crystal clear that he has full intentions of doing so, which is why we got behind him and supported him. He's been on several episodes of our show, so if you want to go back and listen to some of those, feel free and go back and take a listen to Darren White's chat about that.
Absolutely. So. Okay, I want to get to this. We talked last episode about the fact that the climate change fight, to me, is totally changing. I think because of AI, because of energy and our lack of energy and the fact that we need so much of it, you can't make a plausible case anymore that you can go carbon neutral and you can move your country, your state, your city anywhere near that direction. We just don't have the ability to do it. So we have this long talk about it, right? We go through back and forth. And then literally, we talked about it on Sunday. On a Tuesday morning, Bill Gates puts out a very long
memo.
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 To his supporters. And look, I read the whole thing. It's very long. There's plenty of it you won't agree with. There's plenty of it you may not like. But I will say it was interesting in the respect that it does a complete pivot. He totally changes the game and kind of backs up what we said. So here's a little thing that we said on Sunday night show. I would not be surprised if the big data center producers, if the Amazons of the world, if the Googles of the world, I know Bill Gates, all these guys,
all the people that
they're all
mentioned,
investing in fusion companies. I guarantee you they're doing that because they realize like this is where we have to go. So my point is this whole thing of carbon this, carbon that, it's all, forget it. None of it matters. What matters is what comes next and can you develop fusion quicker than, say, the Chinese do and other countries do, and can we be the leading fusion producer of energy in the world? We have to be. There is no choice. There is no debate anymore. None of that matters because if you're on the environmentalist side and you sit there and if you think, going net zero in the United States would make a hill of beans difference, it wouldn't. What would make a hill of beans difference? Because China isn't, because India isn't. None of it matters. What matters is we develop fusion with an endless supply of energy. That's a game changer. That's a game changer. So until then, we've still got great oil and gas supplies that we desperately need in this state. And then we pair that with fusion going forward. It is the only path. To me, this whole debate is gone. So that's it. Okay. The whole debate's gone. Then Bill Gates comes out. And here's the headline from the memo you talked about.
Yeah, Bill Gates softens climate disaster approach, says strategy needs to shift.
Okay, so what he says is stop saying the climate is going to kill everybody because it's not. He says it. He goes right out and he says it. Just read these couple of bullet points about what he says at the top of the memo here.
Climate change is serious, but we've made great progress. We need to keep backing the breakthroughs that will help the world reach zero emissions, but we can't cut funding for health and development programs that help people stay resilient in the face of climate change to do it. It's time to put human welfare at the center of our climate strategies, which includes reducing the green premium to zero and improving agriculture and health in poor communities.
Okay, so what he's really saying there, and it takes a little bit to kind of dive into it here, but I want you to read this just one more thing before we kind of comment on where this is going and why it's so important.
Yeah, he says here, there's a doomsday view of climate change that goes like this. In a few decades, cataclysmic climate change will decimate civilization. The evidence is all around us. Just look at all the heat waves and storms caused by rising global temperatures. Nothing matters more than limiting the rise in temperature.
Pivot.
Fortunately for all of us, this view is wrong. Although climate change will have serious consequences, particularly for people in the poorest countries, it will not lead to humanity's demise. People will be able to live and thrive in most places on Earth for the foreseeable future. Emissions projections have gone down, and with the right policies and investments, innovations will allow us to drive emissions down much further. I think what's so interesting about this is he was the leader in creating this doomsday approach to start with.
And now he says this.
Yeah.
Climate change is a serious problem, but will not end civilization. Okay, so this is a massive pivot. I'm sorry, this is a huge pivot. You're exactly right. He is the godfather of climate change.
He started and what's his face?
Al Gore?
Al Gore. Obama?
Gates was so much more important because he was the funding arm for so much of this stuff.
Yeah, he had the funding for it. Yeah,
so this is a massive difference. And what he says he has a couple different truths, right? And he adds one more truth here. And he says, health and prosperity are the best defense against climate change. Well, answer this for me. What would bring health and prosperity more quickly to the third world than fusion energy? Basically, cost-free energy.
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing would.
Yeah.
Nothing would. Okay, so that's what I'm saying here. I think that he's done this pivot, and it is an earthquake of a pivot. There's no doubt. I mean, him saying stop with the craziness that everyone's going to die.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a massive there are so many people out there, the New York Times being one of them. We'll get into this.
Yeah, they're kind of melting down.
They're completely melting down over this, right? And not only because of that, but you start looking and you say, how can you take human flourishing? When you make human flourishing the center of your policy, which you should. Remember, we've had guests on this show. We've talked about it a ton, about the fact that sometimes you get the environmental movement, it's anti-human. It's like they want to get rid of human beings.
Right.
But what does he say in the whole memo? He's like, you've got to make the center of your policy human flourishing. I totally agree. And the best way to do that is to provide affordable energy to everybody. In this state's a great example. We made the point last show that we can't afford expensive energy.
Right.
Cheap energy is going to
and
lift
we could be the
everybody
leaders
up.
in fusion. We could be the leaders in any energy. We are the
Fission,
energy
fusion,
state.
all of them. Yeah.
I mean,
no,
we're
you're
the
right.
energy state.
Yeah.
So I just don't know why we don't take the lead on this and make it the best it can be once again in New Mexico. I mean, obviously, if there were certain people in leadership that would take care of that, we would have done it.
Well, but we have investment in the state that is fusion based. So that's starting.
Right.
That is starting, and they deserve credit for bringing that in, and everybody should. Right. I mean, both fission and fusion. I mean, you got to do both, to be honest with you. But fusion, I think, long term, is the holy grail. So you mentioned the New York Times.
Yeah, Bill Gates says climate change will not lead to humanity's demise. In a memo, the Microsoft co-founder warned against doomsday outlook and appears to have shifted some of his views about climate change.
Okay, so these guys are extremely unhappy.
Oh, yeah. They're wait a minute. No. You're a quote. We go to you every time to talk about climate change.
You're our guy. But so here's the one thing. Before, Chris, you read some of this, just in your own head, think, okay, the New York Times can't blame Bill Gates because he's the godfather. Like, you can't blame him. He's their consigliere. Like, you can't do it, right? But who possibly could they blame for maybe manipulating perhaps one of the most intelligent men on the face of the earth?
Yeah. Just take a guess.
Who do you think they're going to blame?
Who do you think is coming?
Here we go.
All right. Coming just 4 years after he published a book titled How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, Tuesday's memo appears to amount to a major reframing of how Mr. Gates, who's worth an estimated $122 billion, is thinking about the challenges posed by a rapidly warming world. It arrives a week before the world leaders gather in Belém, Brazil, for the United Nations Annual Climate Summit, known this year as, I think it's COP30 or COP30. Yeah. Mr. Gates, who turned 70 on Tuesday and has attended the event in previous years, will not be participating. He declined to comment about his memo. Here we go. Who's he going to blame now?
Here we go.
Who's the New York Times going to blame?
Got to be Donnie.
I mean, it's got to be Donnie, right? So as the Trump administration has slashed foreign aid budgets and shuttered the U.S. Agency for International Development, Mr. Gates has redirected much of his charitable giving to fill the void left by the U.S. government and focus on health and poverty in the developing world. Quote, he saw the USAID situation as more pressing and something where it could be done more effective, said this Johannes Akava, who leads Climate World at Founders Pledge, an organization that advises philanthropists.
Okay, so they go in and they say, because they shut down the corrupt USAID, Bill Gates then had to fill in the gap.
Yeah.
So he then pulled the rug out of their whole climate
story,
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
He pulls it out of there, and then they're like, they don't blame him, of course.
No.
They go blame Trump for shutting down USAID. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You can keep going here.
Okay, it says, in the memo, Mr. Gates argued that the world should invest in efforts to lower the cost of clean energy and find ways to make manufacturing, agriculture, and transportation less polluting. But the memo also sought to redirect efforts away from the campaign to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and instead focus on other ways to improve human lives and reduce suffering.
Yes, because he knows you can't do what they're trying to do.
Right, and he's also going to be a leader in the energy war. I guarantee you.
Oh, he's very much invested
in all these things. In all this stuff.
Absolutely.
So he's actually like, no, now I actually see what's going on, and I was wrong about the climate change stuff, and
no, he still believes in climate change, right? I mean,
but he just doesn't think it's going to be.
Well, it's not going to kill you.
Yeah,
it's not going to kill you.
So here we go, though. Let's continue to blame Trump. David Callahan, the editor of Inside Philanthropy, said that Mr. Gates could be trying to reposition the debate around climate change during a highly political moment when Republicans are overtly hostile towards efforts to address the issue. Quote, one could imagine this being a continuation of wanting to move to the center and not wanting to be a target of the Trump administration.
Okay, so hold on.
I'm sorry, could Bill Gates not protect himself with his $122 billion against Trump?
Yeah, I don't think Bill Gates is living on the edge of his means to where Trump could just finish him.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter.
Coming out to target Bill Gates, give me a break. I mean, anybody that Bill Gates is, who's Bill Gates actually even scared of? Really?
Yeah, I'm not sure he is. But go
I know
ahead
he's
and give the
everybody.
last paragraph here.
Many scientists believe that the planet's rapid warming could bring about a series of irreversible tipping points that could have cascading impacts. These scenarios could include change to ocean currents, the disappearance of ice sheets, and the mass death of coral reefs. Mr. Gates did not address any of those scenarios in the new memo, though he has discussed them before.
See, one last little shot. They're not giving up on it.
No,
they're like, hey, we're not done with this.
Yeah, we're waiting for Gates to come back and back us up again. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I'm telling you, I have to say, and I didn't even know Gates was writing this clearly.
No.
But I do think he's exactly right. When you put human flourishing in the middle of your policy, I think that's the right thing to do morally.
I can't wait to see Al Gore, Leonardo DiCaprio, and who's the girl, Greta? What's her name?
Greta Thunberg.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Oh no, she's busy. She's busy going after Israel.
Oh yeah, I know.
I don't think she has time.
I'm sorry. Is she not driving boats out there?
She is. No, I'm saying she's
changing the world one weird, chaotic moment at a time.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
what she's doing. Anyway, okay, let's move on. Let's go to JD Vance. He gave an interview. Pretty interesting because obviously they always want to talk about what's next for JD, what's going to be next for Trump. What happens after this administration, kind of this look forward thing. And they asked him, kind of a question about what is the threat right now to Trump's administration? Like, what is the most pressing need you see happening? And I think JD gave a very honest approach of what he thinks is the biggest weakness right now in the administration and what they need to do to take care of that. And then he addresses the what's coming next for me, I think pretty professionally.
If we take care of business, the politics will take care of itself. And we're 9 months into this thing. We've done a lot of good. There's a lot more work to do because, I mean, look, the thing that I most worry about is that Biden left us a terrible affordability crisis. We've got to make life more affordable for American citizens. Again, we've chipped away at that problem, but there's a lot more work to do there. So my attitude is the American people elected me to be vice president. I'm going to work as hard as I can to make the president successful over the next 3 years and 3 months. And if we get to a point where something else is in the offer, let's handle it then. But let's at least get through the next couple of years and do good work for the American people before we talk about politics.
The president doesn't mention who will be running for president and who vice president. Now, everyone assumes it would be you, but Marco Rubio is 13 years older. He's run for president before. Would there be any tension there?
First of all, no, there's not going to be any tension. Marco is my best friend in the administration. He and I work a lot together. Right. And we really do, I think, a lot of the good work that we've been able to do as an administration is because we're all able to work together. And again, this is why I say worrying too much about the politics actually, I think, makes you worse at the job that you have. I never want to wake up. And so far, I've never woken up and thought to myself, how do I make myself president of the United States? What I wake up and think to myself is, how do I do a good job as vice president? And I think Marco Rubio asks himself, how do I do a good job as Secretary of State? And that should be the question that each of us keeps on asking ourselves.
Yeah, I like that answer a lot. This is when we had to throw this one in too, just because I thought it was an interesting take on, I mean, we cover all the UFO stuff on this show anyway, or not all of it, but we definitely talk about it. And I thought this was an interesting take on when he was asked, do you believe in UFOs? So let's take a listen to this.
Tulsi Gabbard says that she believes there are aliens. Do you believe that?
You know, I don't, it's interesting. I wouldn't say that I do or don't believe it. I mean, I'm a big believer that there are things out there that we can't explain. And so if another person sees an alien, maybe I see an angel or a demon. So I'm a big believer that there are like spiritual forces working on the physical world that a lot of us don't see and a lot of us don't understand and a lot of us don't appreciate. But, you know, is it aliens or is it our guardian angel, or is it aliens, or is it a not so guardian force that doesn't care about us, or in fact actively wishes us harm? I don't know the answer to that question. What I try to do is I try to say my prayers. I try to be as good of a person as I can be, and I try to do a good job. And hopefully that's all I need to do.
Interesting that he went spiritual with that. I thought that was kind of an interesting answer.
Yeah.
I do think too, in looking at what he says about the economy, I'm glad he said what he said about the economy. I don't care so much about running for president stuff yet, but I will say I think his understanding that it's our belief on this show, we've said it multiple times, that if the Trump administration is going to have a real problem, it's going to be because they just can't bring down prices enough, and people are getting crushed.
Yep.
They still are. They're still getting crushed. And I'm glad he has knowledge of that, and I'm glad he's addressing it and saying this is the issue. That's what was so maddening when we watched prices increase a few years ago, is that you'd have the Biden administration tell you, no, the economy's really good. You don't get it. And you sit there going, am I taking crazy pills? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
Like you go to the grocery store and you can't afford anything. And now the prices have not come down enough. And so I think there's still a lot that needs to be done. Energy prices are coming down, which is good. Definitely helpful. So there's a lot of things to work through here, but I was so glad to just hear him address it.
Yeah, I think he does tend to not steer away from from a direct answer, which I always appreciate from him. But okay, well, that's going to do it for us today. We thank you for spending a little bit of time with us. Please make sure that you rate and review us if you're listening to traditional podcast. Like and subscribe on our YouTube. It really, really, really helps us. And if you want to sign up for our email, go to nodoubtaboutitpodcast.com. And again, join us back here on Friday for our special Halloween special. And until then, we'll see you next time. Take care.
You've been listening to the No Doubt About It podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at No Doubt About It Podcast.
No doubt about it.
The No Doubt About It podcast is a Choose Adventure Media production. See you next time on No Doubt About It.
There is no doubt about it.